Keith, what are you? Shut up.
Well, I'm interrupting it because there's no lines.
Oh yeah, there is no lines. You're thinking your microphone isn't plugged in.
That'll do it.
Yeah, that will do it. I actually don't even know if this is going to start recording you or not. Yes, gimme a man. Alright, I don't know if I'll even have to start re-recording again.
Oh, we had some gold there, so...
Yeah, damn. Oh, wait, no, okay, I think it's recording now, so I don't have to restart the recording. But that was some pretty good goals. It's unfortunate that didn't record. Okay, wait, I think your levels... Talk.
Hello? Can you hear me? I look kind of low.
You do.
Maybe I just need to raise the volume of my voice.
Dog loudly like this. See, look how high my levels are. And look how low.
Really loud.
Okay,
there we go. Okay, so I just need to talk a bit louder.
Yes, talk like this.
I'll scream into the mic.
All right, well, now you can stop talking.
Okay.
Hey, you, and welcome. My name is Mike. Or is it?
Is it?
I hope so.
Yeah.
That's my whole life is a lie. I'll have to redo 500 or something videos of wherever how many freaking ones I've done. So welcome, listeners. Whether you're first time or long time, me love you all the same. And I'm what? You're putting me off now. I thought I was in the flow, and now you're just laughing at me. Joined as usual.
Laughing with you.
Thank you. Joined as usual by Keith. Say hello, Keith.
Hello. How's it going?
I said to say hello, Keith.
Oh, say hello, Keith.
There you go. No, you just say hello, Keith.
Off to a great start.
Yeah, I know. Well, we're getting in there. We're sinking in. How are you? What's going on with you, Keith?
Good. I'm okay. So I'm excited to get into this one.
You are?
I'm really excited to get into it. It's a really good story, but it actually reminded me of a somewhat similar story I have in my own life. And I can't remember if I told you or not, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Let's pretend you did. I actually have no idea what you're going to say, but let's pretend you didn't for the benefit of the listeners. So if I have heard this story before, I'll pretend that I haven't.
Okay, great. So, going to start the story off, as I do most of my classic stories, when I was in Canada. I know.
Here he goes, folks.
Here we go. So, we had these friends, and we used to go to their house quite a bit for house parties and stuff. So, the house they were in, it was like a 3-story house, but it was split into 3 separate flats. So, they lived in the basement, and there was the middle floor and then the top floor. But they all shared the same
bathroom.
They shared the same hallway. So when you went into the house, there was the communal hallway, and there was like the doors split up there. But there was this cupboard which everyone kind of assumed belonged to someone else. So no one kind of went near it. It was just a door cupboard. They thought it was upstairs. Upstairs thought it was downstairs, and so on.
Yeah.
So nobody ever went near it. Anyway, so we had loads of house parties in this place, got to know them really well. Turns out, after like them living there for, I think it was like a year or over a year or something, they started hearing noises.
Yeah.
And they'd hear like doors open and stuff. It was all very spooky. Exactly. Turns out there was a homeless guy coming in, going into the cupboard, and that was his home. He was sleeping in the cupboard the whole time. So he was like, he'd come in the middle of the night about like 2-3 in the morning when everyone was asleep. Yeah. And he'd kind of get in through the front door, and
did he have a key?
I don't know how he got in.
Yeah, wow, that's creepy, but yeah. Fair play to him.
Yeah.
He figured it out. Good for him.
Yeah. But it was mad because when we found out, we're like, God, we had so many house parties there, and he might have just been in that cupboard the whole time. We were just walking back and forth.
Having a good time.
Trying to be as quiet as possible. Like.
Yeah, bopping to the music. Having a good time. Yeah. Wow, well, that's it. I actually haven't heard that story before, but that's a good one. And it's very, very, insert the word I'm trying to think of here, for this story.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. It's a good segue.
Exactly. That's Keith.
Yeah. See,
you're on fire.
Me and you.
Look at us.
Look at us. Huh? Who would have thought? Not me.
Sorry, I'm trying to just look up what I'm actually going to talk about. Oh yeah, so this is a Keith special. This one, much like that story was, a Keith special, because he did all the research for this one. He did all the heavy lifting. In fact, Keith, you told me the story just briefly a couple of weeks back when we were recording the Dolly Osterreich story, and it's wild. I'm going to be deadly serious right now. My jaw hit the floor, ladies and gentlemen. I had to seek medical attention. It's a really, really interesting story. I'd heard the name, but I didn't know the story at all. So,
well, you did. Like when I was telling you the story, I think I was about halfway through, and you're like, "Is this real?" Like,
no, because it sounds like fake.
Is this
fake
movie
bullshit.
You watched? Like, no, this is real.
So this is the story of Daniel LaPlante, or LaPlante, which I like. Actually, I might say it like that. But Dan LaPlante, for you uncouths who don't speak non parler franco, voulez-vous chanter? It means Dan LaPlante, the Plante. And yeah, I think we should just kind of get straight into this one. So this is quite a dark story for the folks at home. This is a dark and disturbing one. Keith, can I say before we start? No? Great. Today's story is an interesting one. We wouldn't be telling you if it ain't an interesting story. But what's really cuckoo is, despite the tragic ending, which would lead to some horrifying deaths in the story, there's sort of an even more terrifying chain of events leading up to it. Like this story would definitely be scary enough, as you said, without the horrific aftermath.
Yeah.
You could stop telling the story halfway and it's like, holy shit, that's
absolutely terrifying.
Shells, baby. Yeah. The story of Daniel LaPlante, it definitely resembles something out of a horror movie. So let's not delay any further and give it a go. Today's story takes us to a place which may be best known for its top educational institutions or for its significant role in the American Revolution. However, to me, and by me I mean Keith, it reminds you of...
Witches.
Yes, it does. You love some witches.
I do.
Yeah.
I really do.
You're a witchy kind of fella. And of course, Boston Red Sox. I'm wearing a Red Sox t-shirt right now.
You are. Just for the occasion.
Just for the occasion. I have far too many Red Sox stuff. And I spend a lot of time in Boston too.
Oh, and I'm wearing...
shout out to the gang at the Corner Tavern.
Yeah.
Keith's repping your shirt. 421 Marlborough Street.
I am.
Mass Ave.
Thanks for the beer, guys.
Yeah, it's good. It's a good bar. By the way, brief aside, Mikey's Sports Corner right here. I got a little tangent I need to go on.
Okay, I'm rough.
Yeah. Because I tweeted this pretty well. By the time people hear this, probably like a week ago. Follow me, by the way, if you know what's good for you. And follow Keith at, what's your name on Instagram?
It's a K for Keith.
K for Keith.
Yeah, K for _ Keith or something like that.
So I bought a Boston Red Sox canteen, and since the Red Sox have always been kind of shit the last couple of years, but since I bought it, the team's been a disaster. The record actually isn't that bad, but half the team is out injured, and every day I'm reading about a new injury on the team. Okay. It's only a month in. By the time we're recording this, we're only a month into baseball, and the team's done.
Okay, right.
Wild.
And it's your fault.
What?
And it's your fault.
Yes, I know. I'm taking the blame. I'm putting this on my own back. Okay. So I don't know why I'm getting angry at the team when I'm just admitting it's my own fault. But fuck them and fuck this canteen. You hear that, Red Sox? Fuck you.
And I know you're listening.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, by the way, the NFL draft. We're continuing Mike's Sports Corner over here. The NFL draft is tomorrow. We're recording this on Wednesday, April 24th. NFL draft is tomorrow. Folks, let me know who the Falcons draft. Folks in the future who are listening to this while it hasn't happened yet, let me know. I'll probably already know, but you let me know anyway.
Yeah.
This isn't. You know what's kind of funny about recording this and then releasing it in the future is this is kind of like time travel.
It is a little bit, isn't it? What's the future like, guys?
I know. I'm really curious.
Yeah.
What's the weather like? Has there been a nuclear... Oh, have you watched Fallout? It's a good-ass TV show.
No, I haven't. No. Good, yeah?
Yeah, really, really good. I'd highly recommend it. What else? What are we watching? Fallout is really good. Shogun, good-ass show. Do you know what I watched? Here, listen. Okay, Mike's Movie Corner. Okay. You know what I watched, right? I've had far too much Red Bull.
Yeah, I know, you're buzzing.
I know.
We need to level you out.
I'm carrying this podcast. You know what I watched the other day? I watched Dune 2.
Oh, yeah.
Stinkeroony.
Okay.
Well, man, that stank up the room.
Well, did you see Dune 1?
I have.
Okay.
And the thing is, I actually really liked Dune 1. I thought it was really good. Dune 2, woof.
Not good.
No, I didn't like it at all. I don't know why, because I don't think it's a bad movie. I just thought it was. I just was like watching this and I was like, this sucks.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, maybe this isn't a bad movie because I watched Oppenheimer too. I also thought that sucked when people were fucking blowing their load over it. And I was like, and were we watching the same movie over here? But anyways.
I have seen neither. I'm actually gone on a bit of a... I'm starting to rewatch like old 90s movies again. Like,
oh man, 90s the best. The golden era.
Yeah, like I recently just rewatched Jumanji. What a film. That's a great film.
Oh, that's good. I haven't seen that in a long time.
I know, yeah. It's so good. It's so nostalgic.
Yeah.
Jumanji's great. Rewatched... it was only after rewatching it again, I was like, oh my God, this is like a traumatic time in my childhood where I had this fear of being pulled into paintings. Did you ever see The Witches?
Yeah,
do you know
of course. The Witches, Roald Dahl. What's her name? Angelica Houston? She plays the Grand High Witch, right? Yeah, man, that movie, when she pulls off her mask, holy shit.
That was scary.
I shit my balls off. That's terrifying.
That was scary, but it was the first like 5-6 minutes of the movie that really like ingrained itself.
When it's like the camera's flying over the...
No, it's so do you know she's telling the story at the start of the witch who traps the little girl in the painting.
Oh yeah.
And then so she's kind of stuck in time, or she's not stuck in time because she grows up within the painting.
Yeah.
But like she can't escape, and then eventually she just vanishes from the painting.
Oh yeah.
That was terrifying.
That is creepy.
That was very heavy for children.
Yeah, very creepy. I always thought the grandmother was weird. She kind of creeped me out too.
Yeah, with her missing fingers.
Yeah. Man, that movie's terrifying for kids.
Yeah.
Honestly, rats and shit.
Yeah.
Man, Roald Dahl. I mean, listen,
What's wrong with
you? Yeah, no. I grew up reading the shit out of his books. But wow, some dark ass stuff.
It is dark. Yeah.
Yeah. You know what else is dark?
Who?
This story.
Daniel Plante.
Yes, Daniel LaPlante. Very good.
And we're back.
All right. Yeah, I suppose we should probably tell the story. So, that's right. Today, folks, we are off to Massachusetts, or more specifically, the small town of Pepperell. Pepperell's northern Mass. It's on the New Hampshire border. Pepperell's small. It's about 10,000 people live there. And if you Google it in pictures, it's a very pretty, quaint little New England town. It has a covered bridge nearby, which is kind of cool. For listeners, Keith, I know you don't watch The Sopranos, but for the listeners who do watch The Sopranos, if you know that town Vito escapes to in like season 6 when they find out he's gay, it's in New Hampshire, I think. That's the town. It looks like that town. Just a very small, quaint, little, pretty New England town. And the year is 1986, and our tale begins much like a classic horror story. 15-year-old Tina Bowen and her 9-year-old sister Karen had gathered around a Ouija board in the basement of their house. You see, tragically, the girl's mother had died the year before from cancer, and they were performing a seance in their basement as an attempt to connect with their mother. That is a very sad story.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, however, by the end of the session, they were unable to make any contact with their mother's spirit. Or so they thought, my friend, if you can believe that. Because almost right after, some very, very startling things started to happen in their home. That night, as the girls tried to sleep, they started hearing a light knocking on their walls. Wondering if their attempt to communicate with the spirits had worked and their mother was trying to reach out, they excitedly began to ask the entity questions. And to their surprise, they got a response in the form of more knocks and scratches on the walls. Do you like me doing sound effects?
It was good, yeah.
Thank you.
It was 1 knock for yes, 2 knocks for no.
So that was a no.
That was a no. Yeah, I'm just trying to confuse you.
Oh, you're tricking me. Yeah, so this is actually, it starts out like, this story really does start out like the horror movie, and you think, it's the beloved mom speaking from beyond, but then it turns out it's a demon the whole time. The Conjuring, all this shit follows the same plot.
Gotcha.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But this one really does. It actually was a demon from hell who was speaking to them. They just didn't know it.
Yep.
The girls, however, were excited that they'd gotten the chance to communicate with their mother again. However, in the following weeks, the knocking became more aggressive and frequent, disrupting their sleep and causing them distress. Now, their father, Frank Bone, he thought the girls were simply just stressed out from grief and they were imagining things. He never really noticed anything weird or the knocking. But the unexplained events just seemed to escalate. Drinks vanished from glasses. Objects shifted around the house, and the TV changed channels by itself, which is frankly just more annoying than anything else.
It is, yeah. I was watching that.
I was watching the Pats game. Furniture even moved from one side of the room to the other, as if they had a poltergeist in their home. Eventually, Tina and young Karen figured that they were being haunted by a malicious demon, not the spirit of their mother as they had initially thought. The knocking kept getting louder and louder, starting in the girls' rooms, but soon spreading throughout the house. One day, as they sat in the living room, they heard the knocking from beneath them. Scared out of their wits, but desperate for answers, they grabbed a kitchen knife and headed down into their basement. There, they found a chilling message scrawled in red on the wall. "I'm in your room. Come and find me."
That's terrifying.
That is freaking, yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. No, yeah, no. That's all I'm saying to that.
That's the last thing you want to see.
Yeah. However, unlike in a horror movie where the protagonist would investigate further, the girls did exactly what we would do, and they got the shit out of their house without a second thought to get help from their neighbor, which is a very smart move. Well, see, people in real life are more intelligent. Because if this was a movie, yes, they would have gone.
Oh, yeah, they would have looked around.
Killed by a monster.
Yeah. They would have went up to the room and had a look.
Yeah, exactly. No way, Jose. When their dad, Frank, got back, they explained what they'd found in the basement, and Frank, he just was like, not having it. He thought his daughters were behind the creepy writing on the wall, playing tricks on each other. He was convinced it was just grief messing with their heads, and so he sent his 2 daughters, Tina and Karen, off for counselling How terrifying must that have been for the two girls?
Well, that is classic horror movie now.
Yeah.
When, like, you know, you're explained to the authority figure, the parents, whatever.
Yeah, you're crazy.
Yeah. You're nuts, man. Especially 'cause, like the writing on the wall, it wasn't red and it was meant to look like blood, but I think it was in ketchup. So.
It's like, this is delicious. So, several weeks later, on December 8, 1986, Frank, Tina, Karen, and Tina's best friend, Kathy Knapp, they arrived home after a day out, only to discover the house was an absolute mess. They also noticed that the toilet had been used, but not flushed while they were away. Someone left a giant shit in there. By the way, note for Regina, please insert the video of the Scottish woman. You know, which one of us forgot to flush the toilet after they took a shit?
Well, the fucking one of you.
Somebody not know how to flush a toilet after they've had a shit?
What do you mean?
Well, it was fucking one of yous. Disgusting!
Oh, God, that's so good.
This time, however, Frank, he really did. I think it takes his house to be destroyed to actually believe that his two daughters were telling the truth, that there was something very wrong with the house.
No girl of mine is taking a shit like that.
That's a big shit. So he began to snoop around. He began to investigate and see what the heck was going on. When he walked into his teenage daughter, Tina's, room, Frank was confronted with a disturbing message painted on the wall. Marry me, Tina. But that's not the weirdest part. On the other side of the room, Frank saw something even creepier. There was this young man dressed up in his late wife's clothes, with makeup on, wearing a dress, a blonde wig, and in one hand, the man held a hatchet. Fuck me. Yeah. This entity, I can only imagine you must thought it was like an entity, or this is too freaky to be real.
Yeah.
This person thing calmly ordered the three girls and Frank into the bedroom, where he threatened them with his weapon. That's terrifying. It's like Insidious, the ghost woman who's haunting them in Insidious. That's like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
This person calmly ordered the three girls and Frank into the bedroom, where he threatened them with his hatchet. Thankfully, Tina somehow managed to escape. She made a hasty getaway via the window. She dashed to their neighbor's house and called the police from there. However, by the time the authorities showed up, this man had seemingly vanished without a trace. The family was shaken and deeply unsettled as they realized that the disturbances they'd endured for almost a year were not caused by a ghost, but by a person living in their walls, deliberately tormenting them. The Bowens decided to stay elsewhere while the police investigated, understandably too scared to return home while this madman was still out there somewhere, and clearly he had easy access to their house somehow, so they held up at a nearby hotel. 2 days after the incident, Frank went back to the house to grab a few things for his girls. However, as he approached, he spotted movement in the front window of his house. Squinting, he realized that it was a man's face staring back at him.
It's terrifying.
I genuinely am wondering if this story is the basis for so many horror movies.
Yeah, right?
There's just so much going on here. Frank wasted no time and he called the police, reporting that the intruder was still in the house. But when the authorities arrived and searched the house again, they found no sign of anyone, just like the first time. It was starting to feel like they really were chasing a ghost, like this guy just kept vanishing and you never felt safe in your own home.
And like around the time as well, I think it was like snowing as well, so they looked all around the house and there was no footprints coming or leaving the house either. So he was in there, but they couldn't find him.
Yeah, that's terrifying. What they did find, however, were 2 family pictures stabbed with kitchen knives and 2 chilling messages scrawled on the walls. One saying, "I'm still here, come find me," and another bluntly stating, "I am going to kill you," which is
no reading between the lines on that one.
Fuck this. Yeah, no messing around there.
They're not getting my message. I'm really clear.
I'm being way too vague with this. So, where had the perpetrator gone? Clearly, he'd been hiding in the home for some time before taking the family hostage, and Frank had just spotted him in the front window. But as you said, Keith, oddly enough, the police found no footprints leading away from the house in the snow, and this is in the middle of winter. By the way, this reminds me, I think it's called frogging.
Okay.
Let me just Google this. Mike's Googler here. It's called frogging when there's somebody living in your house.
While you're there.
While you're there, yeah. So, Wikipedia to the rescue. Frogging is the act of an individual, a frog, like PH or OG, secretly living in another person's home without authorization. And it's like you hear so many of these urban legends of these things going missing in the house, and then they set up a camera, and then they find somebody getting up in the middle of the night and like drinking their milk from the fridge and stuff like that. There's a lot of stories. The ones that always come to mind are ones from like Japan and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think maybe some of the more famous. I don't know if these stories are even real. Some of them are just urban legends.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's like a woman sets up a security camera in her kitchen. She sees this crazy guy climb out of her attic.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's really scary.
I've seen that one. Yeah. That is,
It's kind of like Dolly Osterreich. Only she knew he was there.
She put him up there.
To her husband. He was frogged.
Yeah.
You know? So that's kind of like it.
50% of the house is being frogged.
Yeah, exactly. That sounds very... they should change the name. I don't know. It sounds very weird. As the police kept searching the house, they eventually came across a false wall in the basement. Behind it, they saw what they initially thought was just a pile of clothing, until they realized it was in fact a person. 16-year-old Danny LaPlante curled up inside. When they pulled LaPlante out from the wall space and arrested him, they made a chilling discovery, finding this teenager hiding. He had been living inside the walls of the house for quite a long time. At this point, the passageway they found, it gave him access to other parts of the house through the walls and crawl spaces, and they found several peepholes scattered around, allowing LaPlante to watch Tina from any room she was in. He was pretty obsessed with the family, and he had access to every single part via these just connecting spaces between the walls.
Yeah.
However, what may have even been more disturbing is that in custody, it was discovered that Daniel LaPlante had actually once been on a date with Tina Bowen. So, who is Daniel LaPlante? I don't know how you pronounce his name. I'm just going to call him Dan the Plant.
Dan the Plant, that sounds good.
Dan the Plant came into this world in 1970 in Townsend, Massachusetts. It's the next town over from Pepperell. In his early years, he did not have a happy childhood whatsoever. According to his own account, he endured physical and sexual abuse at the hands of his own father. He acted out in school, and he didn't have many friends. He was often labeled as weird or the creepy kid. This was likely due to his peculiar behavior and complete disregard for personal appearance and hygiene. Smelly bastard, they used to call him. I don't know if they did, but that's what I'm called.
Well, they should have.
Yeah.
Actually, if you look up photos of him when he got arrested, like he's like a big grease ball.
Oh wait, let me look up some photos. Hey, listen, nothing better than an audio medium to describe photos.
My best way of describing it is when you see him, he looks like he smells like sour milk.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah, he does. He kind of does look like he smells. He's got this like black, greasy hair. I mean, he kind of just looks like a teenager because most teenagers are greasy. But
drinking milk.
He does look like he drinks milk. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Keith. Once again, you nailed it, my friend.
Yes. That's why I'm here.
Yes. He was eventually sent to a psychiatrist and diagnosed with a hyperactive disorder. However, instead of helping, Daniel claimed his doctor also sexually abused him during their sessions for a full year. By the age of 15, Daniel was already becoming a well-experienced home invader and burglar. However, his interests were not just in stealing things. Oh no. What really tickled Daniel's fancy was terrorizing the people living in the houses he invaded. He loved playing mind games and moving objects around and leaving things behind just so the owners would know someone had been inside their home, inside their safe little space.
I'm inside you.
Oh God, do not say that again ever, please. In 1986, Dan the Plant set in motion the chain of events that would etch his name into infamy. According to what some people say, Daniel acquired the Bowen family phone number following a break-in at their residence. He then proceeded to make calls to the home, asking for Tina, and saying that he had gotten her number through a friend at her school and thought she was very pretty. He described himself as blonde, tall, athletic, a far cry from his true appearance. Basically, he was catfishing her, the very first catfish. Daniel and Tina, they would talk on the phone often, and eventually a friendship blossomed. Tina agreed to go on a date with Daniel. However, when he showed up to the house looking pretty much the opposite of what he had described himself as, she got a bit of a shock. But Tina, being the nice person that she is, she decided to give Daniel the benefit of the doubt and went on a date with him regardless.
I wonder what he was expecting when he showed up.
Yeah, why do you... I know, it's kind of like the whole thing with Catfish. It's like, why do you... Where do you think this is going to go? She's going to see you. Unfortunately, things went south pretty quick when Tina confided in Daniel that her mother had recently passed. Honestly, you could not have picked a worse person to open up to here. Instead of having sympathy and just listening to Tina as she opened up emotionally about her grief over losing her mother, he decided to ask specific questions and details about how'd your mother die and how much exactly did she suffer in her final moments, and, was it painful? Describe on a scale of 1 to 10 how painful, this kind of shit. Like, he wanted to know exactly how Tina and her sister felt when they found out her mother was dead. It was like emotional torture porn.
Yeah.
He was like getting off on it. Tina, rightly so, said to herself, fuck this guy, and made an excuse to leave and got the hell out of there. She put the whole thing behind her and just hoped to never see Dan LaPlante ever again. Unfortunately, Daniel's obsession had only just begun, and, as we know, without the Bowen family knowledge, he decided to move himself into their house for the better part of a year, tormenting them, spying on them, witnessing their every move, and hearing their every conversation before he was finally caught.
Now, you might be thinking to yourself, whoa, this story sounds unbelievable. It's like something out of an urban legend. And honestly, you wouldn't be entirely wrong. You see, when Daniel started breaking into homes and terrorizing Tina and Karen Bowen, they were all minors at the time. So none of this was actually officially reported to the police and wasn't in any papers at the time.
Yeah.
In fact, if it wasn't for the more serious crimes that Daniel committed a year later, which we're going to dive into shortly, this tale of him being the ghost in the walls or the boy in the walls or whatever you want to call it, it might have remained hidden from the public forever. So it wasn't until after these subsequent crimes did the press, they started to delve into Daniel's past and unearth his youthful shenanigans of terrorizing the bejesus out of people. So when they found out about his past of holding a family hostage with a hatchet while wearing a dress and after living in their walls, it was too good not to print. However, over time, there was a lot of details missing because, as I said, there was no official report. They've taken a bit of an artistic license to fill in some of the gaps and sensationalise the story a little bit. Now, that's not to say that the story is complete horseshit. In fact, thanks to his later crimes, I was able to source a court appeal document on the government of Massachusetts website where it outlined to the grand jury a number of his crimes that were committed when he was a minor. So in this document, it lists crimes like malicious destruction of property of Frank Bowen for over $100, breaking and entering in the building of Frank Bowen with felonious intent, larceny in the building owned by Frank Bowen, kidnapping of Tina Bowen, kidnapping of Karen Bowen, kidnapping of Frank Bowen, kidnapping of Kathy Knapp, assault by means of a dangerous weapon with a hatchet, and entering and breaking into the house at night time to the building owned by Frank Bowen, and armed burglary as well. And this is all listed on the website. What is not reported are details like Daniel was dressed up in Frank's late wife's clothing, for example. And there are other sources out there that say he was dressed up like a ninja, that he had face paint on, or he was dressed up as tribal gear. Unfortunately, the truth is we may never know exactly what these details are. However, what we do know for a fact is the horrific crimes committed by Daniel, which we're going to get into right now.
Yes, he did do some horrific stuff, that is for sure. But yeah, as you said, a lot of the story is quite of question marks. But you know what? If you print the truth or the legend, let's print the legend, baby.
I know, but I'm going to believe.
Yeah, I know. The story is freaky. But it definitely gets even freakier. No matter how he was dressed or what he was doing, the story gets pretty horrific. So, once officers found Daniel hidden within the walls of the Bowen family home, they promptly placed him under arrest. From there, he found himself confined to a juvenile detention center until October 1987. Following this stint, he was moved to an adult facility where, thanks to his mother's intervention, she was able to secure his release by posting $10,000 bail. Daniel then returned to the custody of his mother and stepfather as he awaited trial, December 11th, 1987. All he had to do, was keep his head down. It's like a month and a half, or maybe even less, from when he was out on bail to when his trial for breaking into the Bowens. But all he had to do, was keep his head down until trial, right? And that's not what he did at all. That's for sure. Almost immediately after being let out, Daniel, hey listen, old habits die hard. He started breaking into houses once again. He burglarized one home on October 14th in broad daylight, only about a quarter mile from his mother's house. In another instance, he stole cash and 2 guns. Then, on November 16th, 1987, he broke into the Gustafson home, which was just through the woods behind his own house. Among other things, Daniel took a cordless telephone, 2 cable television boxes, a cable television remote control device, and some coins from a Liberty silver dollar collection, which are collector's coins, and a brief Google tells me those worth a lot of cha-ching. Now, Daniel's family did begin to notice that he somehow had a lot of cash for someone who had no job and was meant to be just sitting at home awaiting trial. But they couldn't connect the dots to this one. Man, this is just too hard to figure out. I can't wrap my head around this one.
2 plus 2 is... That's too hard.
Yeah, I give up. His mother even found one of the guns he had stolen and confronted him about it, but he just lied and said the gun, that was there before I got arrested. So that's my old gun. That's old gunny. Now, the man who breaks into homes and lies and is a creep, I wonder, was she thinking? Wonder if the liar's lying? No, he's fine. He's grand. Luckily, Daniel only had a gun without the bullets, but he soon fixed that by just asking his brother for some bullets. When questioned about why he needed said bullets, Daniel came up with the ridiculous excuse that he wanted to make a giant bullet to sell, which I love. He's just gonna super glue a load of bullets together.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I know, he's gonna mash them together. It's like, when you get Skittles and or Starburst or something.
Yeah.
Candy, and you just mash it together to make a giant ball.
Yeah, I used to, like it was like a Starburst apple.
Yeah. It's so stupid. So his brother believed this stupid ass story of him making a giant bullet and gave him a number of 22 caliber rounds. Then, on December 1st, 1987, Daniel once again broke into the Gustafson house, behind his house through the woods. He claimed he was not expecting anyone to be home and was planning his usual antics of moving items around to scare the homeowners. However, when he broke in, he was greeted by pregnant Priscilla Gustafson, 33 years old, and her 5-year-old son, William. Daniel, this time, decided to escalate things dramatically. He shoved William in a closet, made makeshift restraints from stockings and a necktie, tied Priscilla up, raped her, placed a pillow on her head, and shot her multiple times. Then, in an act of more cruelty, he took young William to the bathroom and drowned the boy in the bathtub. This was not the end of his horrors, due to some absolutely horrific timing. Just as Daniel was prepared to leave this house where he killed a young pregnant woman and her son, Priscilla's 7-year-old daughter, Abigail, just so happened, of all the times to return home from school, she just so happened to walk in the door while he was walking out. Daniel took her, drowned her in the bathroom also. Daniel, he then left the home, attended his niece's birthday party as if nothing ever happened. Later that day, Andrew Gustafson returned home after work to an eerie silence that would typically be filled with the joyful noise and laughter of his children playing around. He walked into his bedroom, where he found his wife tied up and shot twice in the head. He immediately called the police, and he said he was too afraid to look for his own children as the continued silence was more ominous than anything. It didn't take long for authorities to link the Gustafson family murders with Danny LaPlante. Police dogs tracked a scent in the woods behind the Gustafson home, which led officers right to Daniel's mother's house. But when they got there, Dan had fled, and a manhunt ensued. Daniel spent the next day breaking into other people's homes, desperately looking for supplies and survival equipment so he could stay hidden for as long as possible. A few towns over, Dan broke into a woman's home and kidnapped her in her vehicle. The woman managed to escape, but Daniel was spotted by someone who had seen his photograph in the news by now. It was everywhere. At long last, Daniel was found hiding in a dumpster 48 hours after the manhunt for him began. This was in the town of Ayer, Massachusetts, 20 minutes from his home, so he never really got very far. When he was inspected, a hair belonging to Abigail Gustafson was discovered on his sock, confirming his involvement in her murder. It was 1 year later, in 1988, that Daniel was found guilty of 3 counts of murder and was sentenced to 3 life sentences. Deservedly so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there was a little shit show in Frank Bowen. He was outraged that Daniel had been allowed out on bail, and then so he was able to commit the 3 murders. He said to a local paper, "If Daniel LaPlante does not get convicted and gets out, I will personally kill him. You can't imagine what kind of fear we've been living in. He is mentally insane. There's no question about it."
Jeez, yeah, messed up, man. But also, like, during his time behind bars, so Danny, he'd shown absolute zero remorse for his actions, and apparently he'd no intention of serving his sentence quietly either. So between 1988 and 2014, LaPlante, he made numerous attempts to sue the courts, alleging violations of his rights. In 2013, he managed to make it back in the news again when he claimed that the prison system violated his religious rights to practice his Wicca faith.
Oh no.
So Wicca, it is a recognised religion. It's a nature-based pagan belief system founded in like the mid-20th century. The term Wicca, it is often confused with witchcraft, but they are separate. Wicca is a religion, whereas witchcraft is a craft and magical practice. So you could be a witch, but not a Wiccan, or you could be a witch that also practices Wicca. But to be honest, I don't think Daniel gave a shit about any of this. I'm pretty sure his lawsuit was, to be edgy, a bit of a nuisance for the courts. The following is what Daniel requested. So LaPlante asked the courts to order the DOC to provide him with 36 different kinds of ritual oils. If a Wiccan does not have a particular scent of oil, LaPlante implies, he cannot properly perform the spell that uses that kind of oil to achieve a particular result. Like, they were so reluctant to give him oil as well, because it's like you give him oil and he just puts it all over his arms and you slip out of handcuffs or puts it on the ground.
Gone. Yeah, he's gone like a shot.
I'll just slip through the bars.
Yeah.
LaPlante, he requested that the defendants allow him access to 23 different ritual herbs. He claimed that the herbs are an essential part of practicing Wicca. He also asked the courts to order defendants to provide him with 16 different ritual teas. He asked that he and the other Wiccans were allowed to wear ceremonial robes during their corporate worship. He requested varieties of cake for each of their monthly full moon celebrations. And he also requested that he be given coloured pens in order to write in his Book of Shadows, which is required by the Wicca faith.
Yes, and also I request for the Wiccan faith the key to my cell, so and a gun. Wiccans are required to have guns with lots of bullets, big bullets, really, really big bullets.
I'll get loads of different bullets and put them all together.
Yeah, and I'll blow a hole in the cell.
I have practice with that. Yeah. So in 2017, he appealed for a reduced sentence as well. But the judge said that he was clearly not regretful of his horrific crimes and upheld the 3 life sentences. Daniel LaPlante, he will not be eligible for parole until he has served 45 years. Sadly, Andrew Gustafson, the husband and father of Daniel's victims, he passed away in 2014. So he wasn't alive to see Daniel's appeal to be rejected. However, reportedly on his deathbed, he said, "Never let him out. He deserves to remain in prison for life." And I think it's safe to say that we're all right there with him on that one.
Agreed, yeah. So that is the story of Dan the Plant. I wish he had been a fucking plant, because he got up some really sick-ass mother-heckin' crime-orinos. That's for sure. Yeah, wow. His story really starts out like
it's kind of fun.
It's kind of fun urban legend. Ooh, spooky.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, shit.
It takes a dramatic
turn. It's like, damn, Daniel. You ever get to do that shit? Like, why can't you just be the creepy guy who, like, knocks on walls and shit like that?
I know, yeah. He started off like, I'm going to be a ghost. It's
yeah.
And then just kill people.
Yeah. He murdered, 3 people. I suppose you could say 4, if you're counting the unborn baby.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Well, there you go, folks.
Oh, what was that?
I don't know, folks. It sounded like it was coming from the listener's house, not us. Ooh, I didn't do anything. That knock did not come from the recording. Those knocks are not in the recording.
Oh, I hope you're not alone.
All right. Well, we have to lighten the mood somehow, because that is dark as shit.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, here, listen. Thank you so much for listening to me and Keith tell the story of Dan the Plant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's kind of it, man.
Yeah. Spooky one.
Yeah. Check out That Chapter podcast out every, if you're hearing this, you already have, so good for you.
Yeah, it's definitely scary. After I was reading this a little bit, I was like, I start hearing noises myself in the house, which I'm sure if you're listening to this and you're at home and you might start hearing noises, and I just want to tell you, they probably definitely are someone in your wall or in your attic.
100% agree.
But what I like to do as a precaution is every so often I'll just say, I can see you there, which kind of flips the table, you know. Then they think I can see them.
Yeah.
I'm watching them.
What are you looking at?
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Who's watching who now, bitch?
What I like to do is walk around with a hammer and just randomly hit the walls
Oh.
in case there's somebody there.
Just in case. Well, there like two theories about work. I've never had someone in the house. You've
Yeah.
never had someone in the house.
Exactly. So, folks,
system
if you're
works.
listening at home and you have a gun, just shoot the walls.
Top
you never know
tips,
what'll happen.
top tips.
There might be somebody there, you know. All right, here, listen, folks. Thanks so much for listening. Means a lot to me and Keith. And yeah, listen, next episode of the That Chapter podcast will be out next Monday. So give it a go.
See ya.
There you go. All right, thanks. Like just a very small, quaint little pretty New England town. So that's where we're going. And there, what? Yes, that's where we're going. And the year...
I was going to move that Red Bull away from you.
I think you probably should. I'm not even sure if it's Red Bull anymore.